Hooray.
God, you guys are only like 25 minutes late. Jesus Christ.
Listen, I had to pick up my kids. I just had to go
Wait
drop
a
off
minute.
kids, so there you go.
Ew.
At the pool.
Ew. Ew.
That's how it works.
You know what? Let's cancel this call. Like,
Yeah.
the vibe is already in shambles and we haven't even started.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's see
Put
if I
this
get
off
recording on
indefinitely.
this.
Hello, and welcome back to RTFB. This is Travis, and today Chris, other Chris, and I are talking about the first half of Starship Troopers, which will cover everything from Chapter 1 to Chapter 9, but won't include Chapter 10, so stop there. This is your standard warning to finish up all the reading you wanted to do to avoid spoilers, and then let's get back to my conversation with the Chris's already in progress.
Again, like going back to that thing about like your dad, that long ago. I mean, we're not talking about, you know, the dark ages at this point.
No.
But you know, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, right? Your dad wasn't necessarily somebody that you were close to.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm, and especially for a daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not necessarily gonna know a lot about your dad.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even Levi told me the other day, he's like
kids.
telling me of time that he finally figured out what my name was. And I don't remember what he said the event was, but it was something like when he was like 7.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
That's about when I remember.
It seems, whatever it was like
my
way
mom's
too
name.
old for him to be like, oh, you have an actual name?
I'm pretty sure that like I knew my parents' names earlier just because I had to, right?
Yeah.
Like
that
I
feels
think
like
all
a thing
of
for
us
you.
I think all of us like at some point probably earlier than your kids, right? Like had to be somewhere, go somewhere, do something alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Without
like,
them.
Remember your parents' names so that if you get picked up by the police or something, you can find your way home.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was thinking.
Here's
Or if
your
I got lost
address.
at the mall.
I knew my address in kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah, I did too.
Because that's one of the first things that they make you do in kindergarten, isn't it?
Right.
Like
write your name and learn your address. Yeah.
I couldn't always remember our phone number, but I did our address first and then our phone number.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember having by a certain age, probably by around 6 or 7, having to know my mom's name. So in case I got lost in like the store or at the mall or something, then they could page her.
And I definitely did.
I
definitely did get picked up by
but I did a
police
few
at like
times.
Festival of Little Hills more than once.
No, I didn't get picked up there. So.
I never had to do that. Like one of the things that my mom told me growing up is like, yeah, your dad's really tall. Just look for your dad.
Yeah.
like he stands out.
Yeah. You'll notice him.
Yeah. Anyway, like, man, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. Conversation over. Sorry, guys.
End. All right, stop.
Okay.
The end. We did our
Probably
duty.
segue anyways.
Do our duty.
Great transition into the beginning of the episode. after almost 25 minutes of
fucking bullshit,
us, like ADD rambling about
coins and
listen. That's what people come for, is the ADD
knowing
rambling.
Names.
Is that what the show is really?
I think it is.
I'm looking at our metrics right now, and it says ADD rambling is like the top search.
I mean, should we start like hashtagging things? Is this something that kids do?
No. Well, except for the one.
Yeah.
We're about to put out tweets later today about hashtag Save Kindred or whatever. We got to get that going, but
is there a hashtag?
There
hashtag?
isn't. No,
probably.
Oh.
You can start one. Just make hashtag do a hashtag, and then write out hashtag.
Yeah.
Hashtag £.
Hashtag £.
There we go.
Hashtag
all the kids today don't know that was the £.
Octothorpe, yeah.
Yep.
And I think it was something else before it became the £.
Speaking of ADD rambling.
Yeah. Oh my god.
No, I was going to say, like,
let's get down this rabbit hole.
If you could just claim your citizenship by just, like, voluntarily signing up for the military for a couple of years.
Oh.
You can.
Then you could be a citizen of Luxembourg.
You can do that.
Well, then why aren't you doing that? Like, it feels so much easier.
Do I look like the military to you?
Well, you could just get a do-nothing job, like counting caterpillar
You can get citizenship by volunteering for the Luxembourg military. You can do that for America, too.
But you're what you call it? A legacy, right?
Yeah, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Surely you know somebody in your network that used to be in, like, the military infantry or whatever, and they'll let you right in. Or as a pilot.
I mean, I do know some people who were in the Afghanistan and Iraq. So.
Yeah. Is there still a French Foreign Legion?
Sure.
Can I don't know.
I mean, women make better pilots, but you could probably still get in.
I like that
but
because they're
you
quicker
forget
reaction
that women make better pilots because they're so hot.
Yeah.
You're like, man, this chick is so hot. I forget that she has value outside of that.
That's why we can't be on. Have to be in segregated parts of ships, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, because they're too hot.
Anyway,
what did you guys think of this first section?
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot too. It was like a lot of world building and kind of setting the stuff up, but it just kind of felt like a guy being like, "Yeah, fucking boot camp sucks." Like,
yeah, no, like
telling you stories about boot camp.
Yeah, like it is. Reading this again, like it is kind of it really struck me just how fucking military this all sounds.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like a fucking soldier talking.
Right.
Is what it, like, and that, like, I don't think I had the context for that the first time I read it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that I don't think that I had that sort of experience of, like, being around people that had been in the military so much.
Right.
But, like, after having known more people that were military and hearing, like, the way that they speak and, like, hearing sort of the way that they... And it's kind of insane that culture was already in place, like, 60, 70 years ago, whatever. Like, military culture has not changed that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you take out the freaking, like, Halo spacesuit, like, it's basically, you could hear it at the VFW now. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And especially, it's probably a while when you go back for all the military academies, they at least probably sounded very similar.
Yeah.
For a long time, and then that spread as we developed the more professional army.
Yeah.
And all that stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you there. It was, considering I know some military people too, like, it's very like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds about right from what they've told me of their experiences and how they talk and are, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It felt like, shit, what was I gonna say? It just felt like he kept coming back to a central point of being like, yeah, we gotta be really harsh, because, fucking war is harsh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And since anyone can, which I thought was interesting, everyone has a right to join the military.
Yeah.
That concept too of like, we have to be able to do that to weed out the people who are gonna suck.
Yeah.
So that my life is not dependent on them.
Right.
And if they stick around, then we know who to give like the shitty jobs or the desk jobs.
So here's
they're not
here's
in
something
the front,
that
on the front, like potentially fucking it out.
Right.
Here's something that I was curious about, but not curious enough to actually go look up. But I was curious about what was the shape of the military in like the 1950s, the U.S. military.
Yeah.
Because this is a very modern way. Our like volunteer army that we have now operates essentially this way.
Right.
Where it's like anybody can like like show up and like volunteer for military service, they're not necessarily going to take you for infantry or something.
Right.
Because, you know, you might be like flat-footed or have bad hearing or something, but like I'm pretty sure they can find something for you to do.
Yeah.
Right?
If they need you, yeah. So
yeah,
depending on the part of the 50s, like in the beginning of the 50s,
that became all volunteer.
Yeah. So it was still drafting people to fill needs. Like you could join up on your own volition or be forced to by like a court order or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Clearly you could still go to the military academies. That's always been the case.
Yeah.
But like, especially in the early 50s, like they were still pretty much on the same footing from World War II because it took so long to draw down from that.
Yeah.
And then we had occupation forces for a while.
Mm-hmm.
That by the time we were ending that, like in Japan and stuff, like drawing down from there, then it was time for the Korean War.
Right.
So it all ramped up again to then draft a whole bunch of new young people and get them trained and shipped over.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's how we did it through Vietnam, but because of that clusterfuck.
Uh-huh.
Right.
You'll have to bleep that, sorry. Maybe not.
No, you won't.
It's not radio.
Just say
due to
fuck.
that and the backlash
Fuck.
from all that's when we ended the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it went to all professional, all volunteer.
Right.
Military. And I mean, technically we do still have the draft. We all had to sign up for it so we could get college loans.
Yep.
But
right.
as we learned, like, when Iraq hit and all that shit, like, yeah, they need to get more people, but they never had to call on any draftees. So, like, the chances of it happening are very slim.
Yeah.
But that's also created the weird thing in our culture. Like, I think that's what has made us a little more pro-war. Because since basically nobody goes into the military except for like a small percentage of people, like none of us touch it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like you don't, it's not like even when we were kids, like I remember like all these guys were Vietnam vets. And if they weren't directly like their brother or their cousin were, you know, things like that. Like we don't have that anymore. Like,
exactly.
So if your family doesn't like sign up or volunteer like mine did, you know, like you don't know anybody who was in it, but like I wasn't in it. I didn't grow up on base. Like my mom thought about doing that, but then she didn't. So my older half siblings did, and my older brother he just finished last year or the year before his 20+ years in the army.
So this is kind of exactly the point that I want to make about this book, I guess, is that we're talking about 1950, whatever, 60. When was it published?
I want to say like 58 or 59.
Hold on.
Travis has it.
I appreciate it.
Right before Vietnam was ramping up again, but most of those institutions in the military
first published in 1960.
1960.
Yeah, there we go.
So basically that was the state of things back then, but like you look at this book and you look at the state of things now, and you look at like, okay, well, basically what he has said about infantry in this book, the way that it's organized, the way that it's worked, the way that they're trained, all of that.
Yeah.
In terms of like a volunteer force, like this is the way that we do things now.
Right.
Like we take volunteers and we whittle them down and weed them out until we have like strong people, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
People who are soldiers.
Right.
And they are equipped in like a very similar way where they have like all of this kit. They have technology. They have
might as well have fucking laser swords.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Like they might as well, like, you know, they have the rockets and the snipers and they have like the anti-tank shit and they have like the ability to call down shit from heaven, you know?
Yeah.
They have like insane capabilities. Like a single soldier has insane capability.
Right.
And like all of this was kind of predicted in 1960. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
Right.
Like the fact that in 1960 he predicted the single soldier as being this sort of force.
Right.
That is like dropped into an area and taken back out. Like again, part of it is definitely coming from like paratroopers and part of it's coming from like, you know, the, whatever else was happening, sort of like, in terms of like Korea, but we hadn't had the helicopter stuff in Vietnam and everything, right?
Right. Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. But dropping in from orbit and like doing that and then getting picked back up, I guess.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I suppose that leads us to the first chapter of the book.
Are you trying to do a fucking segue again? Like, what the hell?
Apparently.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah.
You guys. I'm so proud of you.
It's a really good book. Like I've been enjoying it, and like, I've had that question in the back of my mind that we talked about. Like people say, "Oh, Heinlein was a fascist and supported fascism." I'm like, no, I don't get that from this.
I'm not getting that at all.
I get very much he supports kind of an ordered life that's devoted to duty. So very much makes sense for a military guy, and I'm like, that's not necessarily a bad way to order your life. Like,
well, yeah, and
I
for those who want it that way,
I would point out that like a lot of the shit that comes out of people's mouths in this, like, it is a character saying,
right,
yeah,
like, and one of the things that you have to consider is that, like, the narrator of this book is a fucking 18-year-old kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And very
highly at the time he's talking about it, right? Like he's 18. He's writing it as though it's like a memoir from later on.
Yeah,
right?
which it is, I'm sure.
But whenever he's like speaking in dialogue or talking about himself thinking, like, you can see his age.
Right.
Like he's even signing up for the military, man.
Yeah.
Like even his thought process and all of that.
He's very easily influenced.
Basically, pretty girl came along. I don't want to say no in front of her.
Exactly.
Right. My friend was going to do it, so I guess what the hell.
And then his dad talked him out of it, so I guess I'm not going to.
But pretty girl pretty girl I know shows up, so okay, I'm going to sign up.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's definitely.
And like, going from being like
thinking.
Totally bummed out to be in the infantry to some one guy being like, oh, that's what I was. And he's like, oh, they're the fucking best. I love the infantry.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the heart and soul of the army. Like,
yep.
So I mean, it's like, yeah. So Heinlein, I don't think you could really say that he doesn't have a nuanced approach to this, because he is showing that, like, oh, this kid's being manipulated.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he is being pushed and pulled in like lots of different directions in his life at this point.
Right.
And so it's like it is very plain. Like I think if you read this as a kid, you might not notice it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it is still so much your way of thinking.
Right.
But like, I don't think you can say that Heinlein was like absolutely just a fascist or something, just because of these little nuances that, like, oh, well, the character that's saying all of this shit, of course he would say it because he's ex-fucking infantry.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally working a worthless government job that they gave to a retired military guy. And I would say that Heinlein's whole approach to this, even, like, I don't have a lot of specific examples, but it really does seem like, again, the world that he predicted is the one that we live in now, where most people don't have any connection to the military.
Right.
Yeah, and they don't have any real sense of value for their rights and duties as a citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we just have it, but hence the critiques in there of, at that point, late 20th century society. Like, it's the same thing. Like, nobody values it because you just have it.
Right.
Yeah, but
like, they don't think about it, and they just go on and live their life and do something else.
Yeah, and I even wonder if Heinlein is being critical of those people at all, honestly.
Or just documenting them.
Yeah. He's just like, this is their point of view, and this is another point of view, and these are all of the things that we have. Like, I would go as far as to say that, like, I don't think he's necessarily being critical of those characters. Like,
it sounds very much to me like they chose to just live a nice, normal life, and that's okay. Like, perfectly fine.
Like it really does seem to me that he just had a very good prediction of what what things were going to be like once we moved to this sort of volunteer army, I guess. And how most people don't have any relationship to it, don't really care about it, don't really engage necessarily with the government. Mm-hmm. It really seems like in this future, government, citizenship, civics, all of that is just a hobby for specific people or a career for specific people. Like, it's not, it's gotten to a point where there's sort of a complete separation between, like, government and private life.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, most people on the planet don't really care because, the entire planet is at peace at this point, right? Like, we've solved the world's war problem. All of our threats are outside of us now. And and as we continue reading the book, we should really assess, I think, whether these things are actually threats to us. I think this is something that is going to be important to keep in mind as we continue to judge whether Heinlein is a fascist or not.
That's true.
Does it seem like any particular character is saying something about the nature of the quote unquote threat that they are facing as space infantry?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like, speaking of threats, I was surprised to not see like one mention of bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like,
very
what the hell? I came for bugs.
Yeah.
Well,
no
that
bugs
wasn't
to
the
be
main
seen.
gist at this point. I was also intrigued by the fact there's actually two aliens that we're at war with, two alien species working together but separate.
Yeah.
You know, the bugs and the skinnies. Because that's not in the movie, folks, for those of you who've only seen the movie.
Yeah, the skinnies.
The skinnies.
Some
tall, lanky humanoids. But they go fucking terrorize their planet to make a point too in the first chapter.
I had just assumed that that was a completely separate war.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, like, he really only talks about
be.
it in that first section when we're going along on that first drop.
Yeah.
And he's like tactically blowing up things to, like, not necessarily kill people, but, you know.
No, it's shock and awe.
Not shock and awe.
Shock and awe, like, yeah.
But yeah, he kind of name checks, like, these people were strategically terrorizing, and also there's bugs out there, so.
Yeah, but it's to show we have power, not to necessarily use it.
Yeah, I don't know if we're fighting like a two-front war here, or just we know about them.
Because we've only heard the bugs about them so far from their attack.
Right.
So that's it. That's
all
I know right now.
The only thing I remember about bugs is him saying something about, like, at least we're not fighting bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because bugs is the worst.
Yeah.
I forget, did we come down like anti-bug on this podcast? Like, I think we did. Like, fuck bugs.
Yeah, they're creepy.
Neil Patrick Harris is going to be right.
Yeah. Would I like to know more? Yes, please.
They didn't do that either, although I guess that might be coming up.
I think that's Paul Verhoeven. That's his influence.
That's just him.
Yeah. But, to help remind you that this is in fact actually propaganda film, not just a movie.
To kind of nail it home that Yeah. I feel like there was one other thing that you brought up that I wanted to talk a little bit more about, but I guess we'll figure it out when we get to it in the notes. But so speaking of that fucking drop,
let's talk
opening the thing, like, that was kind of neat.
It was.
I thought so.
The quick tech demo of all the shit they've got, like bouncing around and, like, just blowing shit up with, like, mini nukes and stuff.
Yeah, it's that part of Metroid, you know, at the very beginning before you get to
you lose all your stuff,
before you get to the boss and they knock all of your weapons off.
Yeah. Yep. And that's kind of what I thought of also for this, like, powered suit, like Master Chief or Samus, like.
Yeah.
Probably not exactly right, but I'm not very creative. So.
But this would have been like one of the first instances of something like this, though.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
They've all been influenced by this.
Yeah. All of that shit comes from here or someplace like it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know Samus personally, but I bet she'd agree. Fuck bugs. Like.
And
I mean, from my experience with Samus, I would say, yeah, like, absolutely.
That one saved her that one time, but mostly fuck bugs.
Yeah, mostly.
I mean, they're just creepy.
Even they look different.
Yeah. Too different.
Yeah.
Too
they
different.
always take too many missiles to kill, like Jesus.
Yeah.
And run
those
out.
exoskeletons.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, if we're going to get into some specific notes here, I did like that the dedication was like to Sarge and all sergeants who've labored to make men out of boys. Like, that does feel like something he's generally like, yeah, boot camp sucks, but it'll turn you into something.
That's what my brother did for a while during his Army career. He was when I first visited him, he was doing direct boot camp. He was a Sarge.
Yeah.
He still was. He was a first sergeant when he retired, so he was as high as you could get in the Army without some further, more specialization NCO work.
Yeah.
So he did turn those recruits into fighting men. So.
Yeah, and you might have like a family history of military, but I did military science at Truman, so I'm basically the most senior military member here.
That's exactly
I thought about doing some of those classes.
It's basically exactly the same as going through boot camp. Like, I had PT like twice a week.
Yeah. Totally.
For 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, if you signed up, because did you meet Andy Guthrie?
Yes.
He's one of Marissa's friends. He did that too, but he did go to actual boot camp for a summer.
Yeah.
So,
it was
if
basically
you had actually
like
done it, they would have sent you.
JROTC, like.
Yeah.
Played paintball and shit. So yeah.
Right.
Refer to me for any military questions, okay? Like,
yes, sir.
Put that on the record, but yeah. I did like them jumping off with. Did they even say his last name in this section, Johnny Rico?
Just Johnny. They haven't.
They haven't. But it's Johnny Rico, and he's like explained to us that despite all the preparation, I think they also said like hypnosis, that he shouldn't be able to feel any fear here. Like, he always gets the shakes before he drops in.
Yep.
Which, I think that'd be pretty scary. Like,
being
orbiting a planet,
like a tiny little coffin,
getting shot
out of a tube.
Yep.
That would be scary, I think. I don't know.
I think it's okay to be a little apprehensive then.
Yeah. They've got a newly promoted Lieutenant Jelly getting the team ready for a show of force drop. Like, each of you costs us $500,000 and you're 50 cents of that.
Yeah.
So, like, bring the suits back. Die if you have to, but get the suit back.
Right.
That's what we care about. Which, again, feels like military grade.
It does.
Yeah. The equipment is the important part. But, and I did like the note that the chaplain is going to drop with them too, because, like, how could you bless something you're not going to do?
Right.
Because we don't do that now.
But maybe
you get assigned a dude to defend you if you're out in the field.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, how are you going to bless a marriage if you can't get married, chaplain?
You don't know what's going on in that future. So.
But yes. They even have a quick word with each other, like, they kind of have this thing where if they push their heads together, they can talk to one another through their helmet. He's like, don't buy the farm, just do it. So Nike also stole from this book.
Yes, they did apparently.
Yeah. So everybody minus the one guy who's dismissed because he has a cold loads into like their human-sized bullet coffins and shot out of a cannon. So yes. Johnny notes that you can tell that the Roger Young's pilot is a woman because of how many G-forces he's feeling. He's like, I bet they are better pilots. I mean, like they just drive a little bit rough, but they get there better. Still doesn't feel great on your spine, but they are the better pilots.
Wow.
So yeah, we're shot out of the battle bus along with him, and he's describing the very complicated system of shells that kind of peel off as he's entering the atmosphere and getting targeted for where he's going to land.
Yep. I thought that was interesting. How it's a cloud to confuse radar.
Yeah. Yep. Putting up flak as well.
Yeah.
Like got like sort of anti-air missiles and shit coming in after him and like
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, enough to confuse radar and biological eyes both. So they don't know where to shoot, but
right.
So after they land, Johnny's job is basically to blow shit up on his way to a rendezvous point. And he's like, space jumping in his suit at, what was it, 0.87 Gs. Get a sample of all of his weapons, including handhold flamethrowers, back-mounted bomb launcher, some sort of like a fire pill gun, I guess, laser sword, rocket launcher with fun-sized atomic bombs. Like,
yeah. So, it's like Tribes.
Yeah.
He's playing Tribes.
Yeah, exactly. Half-Life, Tribes, pick your FPS of choice. Like,
well, no, Tribes specifically because of the jump jets, man.
Jump jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like we said, it's not enough to kill everything, but, the natives are going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
just a bit.
The kind of name check a guy named Ace who's not too pleased that Johnny's, like, in command of this particular squad. But just goes hopping building to building looking for good targets. Like, how about that church? Or this water treatment plant? Like, that would make them have to leave the city and wouldn't technically kill them. So, maybe that one.
But nobody answered the question of why are we doing this to begin with?
Because.
Because Johnny does not give a shit why we're doing this.
I mean, that's where he's told to go, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Johnny does not give a shit why we're doing this, so we don't get an answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they even point that out later on, and again, this is something that really makes me question whether Heinlein would really be considered a fascist, but he has Johnny say something to the effect of, what was it? When he's talking about, like, the usefulness of infantry versus, like, other, like carpet bombing or, like, other things that take out, like, massive targets or whatever, or, like, cause wide-scale demolition or, like, could wipe out all the life on the planet or something.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want infantry? And he's like, well, the specific use case of infantry is, like, if you needed to go into a place, just for example, to get all of the left-handed redheads. And, like, that's like a little bit specific.
Yeah.
Calling out left-handed people and redheads.
Right.
Why those specific things?
Yeah.
And why have Johnny, your infantryman, say it and then point out
maybe it's a joke in there.
Very specifically, we would do it.
Right.
Yeah. Like, if we were told to do that, we would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing, right? Like, I think he does a good job showing, like, both why they might have a legitimate use for this and then the sinister aspect to it. Like, they're kind of hinting at.
Exactly.
And then, like, because they talk about in that section, if I'm remembering it right, they're like, well, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to correct a puppy for doing something wrong, you don't cut its head off. Like, you don't just obliterate people. You go in and show them, like, we could do that.
Yeah.
But we chose not to. So, like, do what we want to do instead. So, like, that feels like what this is like, demonstration of, like, we will utterly destroy you if we have to, but
we don't want to. We don't
really want to do that.
Yeah,
right.
We'll get to it later, but they do have an interesting philosophy about doing that kind of stuff. Like, we don't want to. We're not really doing it out of malice, but it all feeds into our. You have to know how to behave properly to function in our order.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to teach you. And we're going to teach you how to do that, whether you want to or not. And we will use pain.
Right.
Like. But nobody's really super concerned about it. They're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Given our history, that makes sense.
Right.
I mean,
got to do some spankings to get the kids to behave. So
that's where we all went wrong. We stopped playing cards and we stopped spanking kids.
Apparently.
That's why we're all subject to apes and bugs now. Yeah. So, yeah, they go on their show of force. But as they're sounding off to get retrieved, they notice that one of their guys is not there. Mm-hmm. And Ace and Johnny go back for him.
Yeah.
They find him with a hole, like an actual hole through his suit, and they carry him back together. Like, looks like they're not going to get to the ship in time. Yeah, they don't leave anyone behind.
Yeah.
They aren't going to get back to the ship in time, and orders are to just leave them, because it's, like, really hard to recalculate an orbital rendezvous, as you might expect.
Yeah.
It would
that
be,
takes
honestly.
a lot of math, real quick.
Yeah. And power, skipping through an atmosphere.
Yeah.
If you had to, like, all sorts of shit.
Yeah. But Lieutenant Jelly's, like, belaying the takeoff order, and he goes out and meets them, too. And the battle bus driver is like, well, we're all fucking dead now. Thanks a lot. But, but the captain of the, Roger Young is just too damn good. Like, changes route on the fly manually and manages to intercept. Like, that's why you have a woman pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's smart enough to do it. Also, that guy they saved dies on the way up, but...
Yeah.
Sure, but they
Chapter
brought him back. Doesn't matter if you're dead or not.
At least
you're
they
not
brought him
getting
back.
left.
That's true. They do a good job of showing, like, where they'll talk about, like, don't do something stupid that's going to get everybody killed. But then they do it anyway. They're like...
Yeah.
Well, not leaving someone behind supersedes all that.
Right. Exactly.
I do like the mixed messaging behind it, though.
Mm-hmm.
With, you know, sort of the expression of the pride of not leaving anyone behind, and then also this direct order of leave everyone behind. Do not be a hero.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he's doing a really great job of showing kind of both sides of the same thing.
Yeah.
I think. Like, we'll talk about this later, too, where they're like, we wouldn't overpunish somebody, but we're going to go collect this guy and fucking execute him.
Yeah.
Because we don't want the shame on our patrol or whatever, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, when we get to that one kind of makes sense based on how their society operates. So.
That's a teaser for later, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we may or may not get to. I don't know.
Oh my god. You're just going to be blown away when you hear what happens. So chapter 2.
Yeah, we got a ways to go. My computer might run out of power by the time we get there.
Oh shit!
My god.
Well, at the risk of draining your battery more, like this
I'm
was
61%
unlike
right now. So.
unlike our last book. This one was very easy to be like, I'll just summarize.
Yeah, because this is a lot now of just some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some stuff. Yeah.
A lot of philosophy in these pages.
Yeah, it was a decent amount. I was pretty pleased by that.
Great talking points, but not necessary for me to summarize every single thing that happens here.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
So chapter 2 is where we kind of go back and like, how did I get into this mess? How Johnny ended up enlisting, like telling us about his friend Carl, who's like in this and then so far not again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like best friends. Like they share everything. Like he could use my hella Rolls Royce. And I could use his basement science lab, even though he was poor, unlike me.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Carl is like, I'm going to go into the voluntary 2-year stint in federal service and do like science shit. And like I said before, he's like, that sounds cool. I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Carl's like, I don't know how your dad's going to take that. I don't think he's going to be like in love with this idea.
Right. Probably not.
Yeah. Carl had mentioned, because they are all graduating. It's like, this is the only free choice you can make in your life, is whether you're going to volunteer or not in the society. So that's why I'm going to figure this shit out. So yeah, Johnny goes and tells his parents, and his dad, who I imagined is Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear, like, is like, yeah, don't be an idiot. Like, it's all planned out. Like, you're going to go to Harvard, and then you're going to go to the Sorbonne. And then we're going to get you an entry-level job somewhere so you can learn about working. And then you're going to take over the company from me.
Yep.
So you're going to be a Nepo baby. And
all
it's
the way.
Be great.
That's how it works.
Also, I wasn't going to tell you this, but we're sending you to Mars on vacation. So you can get some Martian
bitches.
Strange.
Yeah.
Go sow some wild oats on Mars and then come back and do my job.
Yep.
So
I think it's serious.
He's like, well, I guess that's that. Anyway.
I wish I had a Nepo job like that.
But then he didn't.
18.
Yeah.
Waiting for me.
Yeah. And then he doesn't tell Carl he's changed his mind. He's like, I guess I'm going with you to the recruitment office. Like,
well, initially it was to show support for his friend.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Still goes with him. And like we alluded to before, on their way there, they meet another classmate who's graduated, Carmencita Ibanez. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm joining up. He's like, I guess I'm going to be a pilot too.
Right. Me too. I want to be a pilot.
I want to be a pilot.
Let's see what this pilot thing's about.
If this had been set in the 80s, the role of Carmencita would have been played by Top Gun. The movie Top Gun. Like, I'm going to be in the Navy and do pilot shit. But They all report to a guy at a desk, noting that he has one arm gone and 2 stumpy legs. Mm-hmm. But he's like, Carmencita, go. We always need pilots. You go.
Yep.
Everybody else, like, good fucking luck. Like, basically what you're going to do is, like, it's rare that you have any sort of skills we actually care about or want. Yep, so you're going to end up doing make busy work for your 2 years. Like we said, counting the hairs on caterpillars by hand.
Get you your service in, get you your vote, so...
Counting how many bullets you've got in your bullet cases or whatever and writing it down. Plus, like, earning your citizenship this way, it doesn't pay a single extra centavo. So, like, what are you even doing? Basically, like, trying to get them, like, don't do this.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Trying to discourage people from joining the military.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, so they don't have to kick them out. Like, it takes time and paperwork.
Yep.
Right. True. But they're going to go through with it anyway, and they take a very, very long version of the oath. Like, oh, when you actually have to say the words, it feels different.
Yeah, there's extra responsibilities and shit.
Weird.
Like, wow. Like, wait, I could be called back up again after my service is done if something happened?
Yeah, weird.
I thought I was done.
Weird, right? So Johnny's like, can I at least call my parents before we leave? And he's like, bitch, you get 48 hours to cool off. Like, you don't even have to come back. Like, if you don't come back, we'll put a check mark.
Right, like, we're not going to care and hunt you down. We'll just figure it as you resigned. Mm-hmm. Granted, then you can never get the right to vote, but nobody really cares, so...
Yeah, right. And, like, they talk about that later, too. Even if you desert, they're like, usually we don't do anything. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, even if you do, usually the people come back, because I guess... Like, they don't hunt anybody down, but I guess shit pops up in your background if they're on a background check if you deserted.
Well, they
come back, you take your licks, and then you're done.
Right.
Exactly. What was the Well, yeah, they said that you're kind of a fugitive. I would say that it's probably something more on the order of like unpaid parking tickets.
Yeah.
It's like,
the military
we can't go
like...
back to Madison, Wisconsin anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like,
and then it said the military thinks of it as like, oh, it's just a harsher resignation. Like, you didn't really want to do it, so that's fine.
Yep.
It's only bad if you desert once you are like, actually a soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
That is a capital offense.
Yeah. So yeah, Johnny has a very crummy going away party. Is what he calls it. But he does come back and goes through a battery of aptitude tests. And that pretty thoroughly crushes his chances of being anything, like at all. He's like...
Yeah.
I was starting to wonder if I could even count on my fingers that well. Like,
yeah.
And since he didn't raise his dog very well, he couldn't be with the K9 unit.
Yeah. I really like the K9 unit.
Genetically engineered super dogs that can talk to you. That are then bonded to your DNA.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm like, you better be fucking serious about a dog if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it might have just been...
become like half dog and have like a half man dog friend.
Yeah, like that's pretty serious.
Yeah, it might have just been the
I would want to see then like somebody walking their dog and then like the dog takes a shit and then the human cleans it up with the bag and then the human takes a shit and then the dog cleans it up with the bag and then they like go on their way.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know why that part struck me as like a Rick and Morty like interlude type of thing. It was like, it was a cool idea, but particularly how it was like, oh yeah, if your dog dies, like, or if you die, we kill the dog because they're so fucked up.
Yeah,
and if the dog dies, you go to counseling forever. Like, because we couldn't kill you legally, but we would want to.
And they might get you another dog later, but...
Yeah. And then the guy's like, I used to have a dog. Like, oh shit. Oh god. Yeah, but...
Anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, I liked specifically, like, his like, why didn't you study anything useful?
Yeah.
It's like, because his plan was, like, to go to fucking business school or whatever, or like go to again,
that's
go to
not
the Sorbonne. right?
Yeah. Like, nobody cares.
Not go into the military and like learn an actual skill.
Right.
So yeah, he like
it's like
he's like a pretty average
MBA,
high school student.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's gone through all these tests and find out he's not so valuable. But every other job you can think of that's not going to be like really shitty. Last of all, canine unit and infantry. Yep. And like we alluded to, he does have an interview with the placement officer.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Hey, you like dags?
You like dags?
You like dags?
Mobile infantry it is."
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, but my mom didn't like him. He's like, "Oh, you never snuck one in?" He's like, "No." He's like, "No dogs for you then. You're not the right kind of guy for neo dogs."
Not the right kind.
Yeah, if you didn't sneak your dog inside
and your dog didn't sleep
and lie to your mom.
Yeah, can't
You're not cut out for it.
Nope. You're not cut out for canine.
Yep. But he's like, "Yeah, you your history and morals teacher, whose name I wrote down somewhere, Professor Dubois, who we kind of skipped past talking about that class." But,
unlike the movie, it's not Lieutenant Ratchek, it's Mr. Dubois, different guy.
Who's, like we said, ex-military and teaching a class that you can't really fail.
Yep.
Ungraded.
Right. But also only veterans can teach, we will find out later.
Right. Just kind of bullshitting the whole time about philosophy.
Duty and honor and philosophy. Yeah.
Yep.
That guy,
it would have been a really cool class to have for real, honestly, in high school.
Yeah.
That you had to take. Like, we had a philosophy class at Chaminade, but, like, nobody took it.
Yeah.
It was an elective, but it would have been neat to have, like, our history class also encompass a lot more, like, philosophy and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is, you know, if you read between the lines, like, this is very obviously like a propaganda class.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it is very obviously, again, like a make work job.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like he's passionate about it, but like they don't, again, if they don't care if the kids pass it, they just want the exposure in front of it, like, and like they pointed out, like, they don't care, like, even if it's taught, like, it just has to be audited. So, like, they could probably just, you know, at another school wouldn't even have a teacher. They would just have, like, videos that you have to watch or something, you know.
Oh, that'd be pretty sweet.
Like,
maybe.
Yeah. And like it reminds me of, like, I heard stories of, like, somebody had, like, a traffic violation in Japan. I can't remember if it was, like, speeding or what, but, like, oh, you have to go to traffic school.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And traffic school is, like, I don't remember how many hours it was, but it was like, oh, you have to go sit in this classroom for, like, I don't know how many hours on a Sunday and listen to a guy talk. And, like, there's no test at the end of it. There's no, like, anything to prove that you were there. Like, you just have to go do it.
Right.
And, like, and the guy's like, what's the point of this? Like, everyone in here, no one's paying attention. No one's doing anything. Like, nobody. And then they're like, oh, well, like, honestly, what it is like the Japanese government made this specifically for retired police officers to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like they just have this out here so that this guy has a job to do because they didn't have enough, like, retirement money or whatever to like support all of the retired police officers. So they just created all these positions so that they would have, like, some small job to do and still get paid.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like it really smacks of that to me, of like this is one of the perks of having been in the military, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the perks of being a citizen is that, like, the government will make these opportunities for you, I guess.
Right.
And you'll have, like, more support, and you see some of the other rights that you get as a citizen, as a soldier, like, further into the book, I guess, like some of the other things. It isn't just voting, it seems like, in this society, that you get from going through all of this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
Good. Yes.
Yeah.
What were we talking?
Oh my God.
Yes, this class, right? So
Talking
he took that
Mr.
one
Dubois
class.
and his
Yes.
teaching of philosophy of,
yes.
of whatever.
But apparently he was like, yeah, this guy's cool. Noted on his file. And so well, he vouched for you. Also, anyone who has a C- in TV appreciation can't be all bad.
Right.
Which, that's a cool class. I want to take that.
Uh-huh.
Which, I mean, that's another, again, going back to, remember this is fucking 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How old is television at this point? So he's like, this is very specifically like, he's like, sometime in the future, there is going to be a television appreciation class.
And guess what?
And there was.
We have them now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they're
Absolutely.
usually in college, not high school, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, if you went to a nice high school, though, like,
They probably have it.
I'm sure Chaminade has one at this point.
They might at this point.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Anyway. Like, so yeah, like just another small, like, this guy's a good sci-fi author touch of, like, he predicted some shit way before the shit happened.
Yes. Yes, he did. So Johnny on his way out, like, runs into the recruiting officer from before, who's now walking around on, like, powered prosthetics.
Yep. Magic leg.
Magic legs. Ice cream. So this is... He's then introduced himself as Fleet Sergeant Ho, who, upon learning that Johnny's been assigned to the mobile infantry, is like, hey, that's my unit. Like, we are the army, guy. Like, we're gonna make a man out of you, or kill you, or both. Like, we're gonna make a man out of you, kill you trying, or both. He's like, all right. And like I said before, I liked this little coda to that, where he's, like, meeting with his roommate. He's like, so what'd you get? And he's like, oh, I got military infantry. He's like, you poor stupid clown. He's like, you shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
MI is the heart of the army. I'll punch you in the mouth.
Right.
And man, like, yeah, having been around people that age who are, like, going into the military, like, yep.
They bought me my Mustang. Like, so they're the best. I use my bonus for that.
It's just, it's very strange how comfortable people are with dying at that age. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but it's like an ideal, like a higher calling you can work for.
You're really gonna die.
Yeah. Other people will die in the war, not
you
me.
can be comfortable with the concept, but it's not really gonna be you.
Yeah.
So
not the
You're
kid.
invincible at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the kid.
Right.
So yes. Then we get some details about Johnny and his early days at basic camp at Camp Arthur Curie.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it was like camp too, because the only permanent buildings are like storage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up in the northern plains and might as well have been the North Pole for him. He's like fucking freezing.
Yeah.
I hate it here. And no one lets him sleep. Like, they dump him out of his cot, like, without even checking to see if he hit the ground. Like, get the fuck up, do things. Their drill instructor, Sergeant Zim, who I pictured as Invader Zim.
Zim.
Yeah. Is very eloquent and loquacious insulter of people. Mm-hmm. And very disappointed with the quality of new recruits, which I feel like there's never been any drill instructors like, oh my god, you guys are great.
Right. This is
no notes.
Pizza party for everyone.
Every day.
Don't change a thing.
My god, you guys just were soldiers already.
Yeah,
right.
Born with your boots on. So yes. I don't know what this word says, but... Oh, yes. He's marching around with his instructor's baton, and Johnny's like, I think I would like to have one of those, because they look fucking cool.
Yeah. Swagger cane.
Swagger cane, man. That's how you know who's in charge. I'm going to hit you with this baton, maybe. But, one recruit, Jenkins, is dismissed for, like, sneezing. He's like, get out of here. He's like, but I'm not sick. I'm like, get out. And then Invader Zim is, like, asking the recruits to try to kick his ass. So
I liked that part.
That was cool.
Yeah. That was funny.
The first guy, like, all 250 pounds of him, lasts long enough to get his wrist broken.
Mm-hmm.
Then two German guys make it a bit longer, but are also dealt with without much of an issue.
Yep.
But the third guy, Shujumi, has like a Dragon Ball Z style fight that, like, if you paid close attention, you could see what was happening. But
Yeah.
Right.
You had to pay attention.
Yep.
He's like, oh, you must be this guy's son. Like, this will be great. Our fighter's going to be epic.
It's like, how'd you know?
But yes, still defeats him, and Invader Zim is not even really tired. It's like, we'll have another fight sometime soon. It'll be awesome. So, and then they exercise forever.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the food, which is a little bit like Texas. It's like, it's not very good, but there is a lot of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Jenkins is like cursing Zim out. He's like, God, I'm not sick. Jeez. And that's where I went back and checked to see if he was the guy who couldn't go on the drop with them. And like, this just seems to be his thing. Like, he's just sick.
Well,
you can't come. You're sick. Sorry.
It affects your performance.
Yes. There's a thing
we'll find out later that like he's a real Nepo baby or something.
Really only there.
Yeah,
the
like
Colonel is his dad.
He's never actually gone on a drop and done anything dangerous.
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Always like squirting a nasal spray up his nose so he has to sneeze before he goes. Yeah. So there's a section here I wanted to read about the difficulties of camp.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a couple of things, but first of all, I like this. He's like, I made a very important discovery at Camp Curie. Happiness consists in getting enough sleep. Just that, nothing more. All the wealthy, unhappy people you've ever met take sleeping pills. Mobile infantrymen don't need them. Give a cap trooper a bunk and a time to sack out in it, and he's as happy as a worm in an apple, asleep. He also notes here, like, I may have given the impression that boot camp was made harder than necessary, but that's not correct. It was made as hard as possible and on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It was the firm opinion of every recruit that this was sheer meanness, calculated sadism, fiendish delight of witless morons in making other people suffer. But it was not. It was too scheduled, too intellectual, too efficiently and impersonally organized to be cruelty for the sick pleasure of cruelty. It was planned like surgery for purposes as unimpassioned as those of a surgeon. So, yes, it's hard as shit, but on purpose. Like we said before, to like weed people out.
Right.
Who aren't going to enjoy it if they have to go like into war later.
Take those who survive and make them into soldiers.
Exactly. Trying to get the easy ones to quit, they say. So, or quit or die. As long as it was on the bounce and they died trying. Like,
right.
Everything has to be on the bounce.
On the bounce.
Do it quick, at least. Don't waste our time. So,
we should make that a thing.
What, on the bounce? Hashtag on the bounce. They talk a lot about training with all sorts of weapons, like even low-tech ones like throwing knives and wire.
Mm-hmm.
And how, at this point, like, their drill instructor even has time for them to ask silly questions. Like one kid, Ted Hendricks, he's like, what is the point of practicing with this crap? Like, if all I have is a knife, I'm dead, right? He's like, listen, kid, do you just want to resign? Because, like, you can do that, but why use...
really dead.
Yeah. It's like, well, why use a stick when, like, a professor can push a button and blow up a whole planet? And, like, we talked about this a little already, but he's like, if you want to teach a baby a lesson, do you cut its head off? No, you paddle it. So we're here to do the paddling and not decide who should be paddled. So we're just going to do that part.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the note they have here about 1 in every 500 rounds in their training is a live round.
Yep.
Just to put the fear of God in them, like, make sure they actually practice cover, because it could be the unlucky one that kills them.
Well, I like how, too, that they might increase that, too, depending if you, like, get too good or
if
you
you're
fuck up too much,
lax,
shit like that, yeah.
I mean, I've heard that, a lot of the like special forces in different countries, I don't know if they do it in the U.S., but like a lot of special forces do live ammunition training like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, take fucking cover.
Yeah.
Like, do it.
Do it.
Fucking do it. Even if it's on an anthill.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which, like, speaking of...
I'd rather be eaten up by ants and be alive than not.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
It would suck, but I'd still be alive.
Right. So we get a scene here where, I guess Johnny had, like, gotten injured trying out the power suit. So he's on some random duty with Captain Frankel.
Yep.
And Zim comes in with a black eye, and Ted Hendricks is in tow. He reports that he hit him. And the captain, like, snaps the fuck to attention. He's like, he did what?
Yep.
And, what the hell, kid? And he's like, well, he hit me first. And he told me to freeze, but, like, I was on an anthill, so I had to move over. And he's like, and? If you took cover in a battle on an antfield, are you going to get yourself killed by standing up? He's like, well, no, but I moved over and then he hit me, so I hit him back. And then proceeds a very quick and efficient, like, field court martial.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they get people on the fucking horn and, like, Helivac did, basically. He's like,
yeah.
Ted is like, I think I want a lawyer. He's like, guess what? You don't get one of those.
Yeah.
So
this is the army.
It's like, so
the military. You don't
tell
get
us
one.
what happened. And he's like, yeah, like I said, I hit him because he hit me. And they're like, all right, well, you are fucking dismissed. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you're discharged and you're going to get 10 lashes. So, and if this had been a full court martial, like, you probably would have been killed. Like, sentenced to hang.
Yep.
And this is what I'm comparing to them. Like, well, if you want to correct a puppy, like, do you cut its head off or... No, you paddle it. But they would have killed this guy if the conditions had been right. So,
right.
So yeah, they have the pole up and ready, like, that evening. And, yeah, they note that shit is hard to watch. Like, like, he even has to be slapped back awake after fainting, and he notes that he's not the only one. So...
Right.
Yep.
They march him the fuck out of there. Later on, he overhears a conversation between the captain and Zim, and he's basically laying into it. He's like, why'd you even, like, give him the chance to hit you? Like, what the fuck? Like I didn't think he was gonna do it. Like,
yeah.
I thought he was gonna stick it out. He seemed like the kind who was like, I'm not really into this, but I'll stick it out to get my citizenship, and then parlay that into a business or something later. But yeah, the captain's like, yeah, we both failed him then. So Zim's like, I need to be transferred. He's like, no, fuck that. Like, you're staying, and we're going to go fight later, and we'll work this out. Like, have some combat practice.
Yep.
So, basically, this section, 90-80, is like the one thing they can't let recruits even think they can have a chance of breaking. Like, you cannot give them the thought that they could, like, say no to their instructions and then punch somebody.
Right.
Like, it makes it make more sense why he would beat the fuck out of people the first night then.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm going to kick your ass anyway. So first of all, don't try that, but especially don't.
Maybe he wasn't supposed to do that, but he likes to, just to test them. See what
that
they're
could be
made
too.
of.
That could be too.
You know, but it's not a reported thing.
Right.
Yeah, and Zim's even like, I guess I just like them too much. They're like puppies to me now. Like, I'm growing them up. And like, no, we're going to go waltz Matilda. We'll feel better.
Yeah.
And Johnny is impressed to learn that officers also have frustrations with the army. He's like, I thought everything was cool for them.
Yeah.
But I guess not. Like, and also they're working? They're like filling out paperwork and shit? That's really weird.
Yeah,
I thought you didn't have to do that if you were an officer.
Yeah.
I thought it was
again showing the sort of perspective of a kid. You know?
Yeah.
Right. So
you do things during the day? Weird.
I thought you just sat around and waited for me to come home.
Right. And waited for me to be here to yell at you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny's at a pretty low point after this, and gets a letter from his mom who's like, your dad hasn't written to you because you hurt his pride. But you're always my baby, and you can always cry in my lap and be my baby forever. And he's like, okay, I'm going home. I'm going to resign. Like, I would have resigned right there if it hadn't been the middle of the night and Zim would have kicked my ass for waking him up.
Yeah,
right.
Once again, showing that so
easily
easily manipulated.
Yeah, very easily influenced. So, but it's like, as soon as I have a pen and paper, I'm going to take care of this the next day. But they're sent out on a thing, like a patrol mission or something. And they note that the one thing the military never denies you is, like, letters. Like, they're going to fucking find you and give you a letter. Like,
yeah.
So he gets a letter from his old teacher, Professor Dubois, who's like, yeah, I'd been in the military infantry too. I was a lieutenant colonel. Which, despite taking military science at Truman, I'm like, good? That's pretty high up, right? Like,
that's pretty high up, yeah.
Pretty high up.
Yeah. That's almost
Lieutenant
birds.
Commander Worf, I don't know, like, that's where my military knowledge is from, is basically Star Trek, so.
Oh, well, that's...
I only know Navy rank, so I can't remember which one it is. It's either oak leaves or...
Yeah. I gather it's a pretty senior role.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's like Commander.
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel. Basically his letter's like, I didn't write before because I wanted to make sure that you were over your hump. Like, and I guess since you aren't back by now, that you did. Like, you're in the clear. And Johnny's like, hey, I am.
Full on
I was just about to quit, but I guess I'm not.
I'm not gonna now.
Yep. You call me comrade.
Yeah. And
thinks
again,
like
someone I respect thinks that I'm doing a good thing, so I'll keep doing it. Yeah.
Okay, so full-on colonel is the birds.
Yeah.
So that's like
colonel.
that's like Navy captain. So lieutenant colonel is the one below, so that would be like commander, I guess.
I gotcha.
In the Navy.
Yeah.
And then my dad was lieutenant commander, so he had gold oak leaves, but I think commanders had silver. And then captain is this eagles. My mom made it to lieutenant before she got out, but that's captain for all the other services.
Yeah.
So the 2 bars.
Yep, like Captain America.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, Johnny's thinking back to a lesson that he had with Professor Dubois about value, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And how the best things in life are technically free, but only in cost. Not in how you actually earn them. So, yeah, and like we said, on the march back from reading that letter, he's like, yeah, I guess I am over my hump. So, cool.
Yeah, and basically the hardest part.
In the letter, Professor Dubois is like, if anyone's still around there, like, say hi for me. And so he talks to Zim, who's like really pleased to hear that Lieutenant Colonel sent him his regards. It's like, oh,
I thought that was cool.
I like that guy.
Yeah.
Good old Dubois.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So chapter 7 is basically going on about how easy their powered suits are to use and like what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I think we've talked about, but I marked to read another passage here. Hold on. Yeah, so it goes on like this. Like a spacesuit, or a suit isn't a spacesuit, although it can serve as one. It's not primarily armor, although the Knights of the Round Table were not armed as well as we are. It isn't a tank, but a single MI private could take on a squadron of those things and knock them off unassisted, if anyone was silly enough to put tanks against an MI. A suit is not a ship, but it can fly. A little. On the other hand, neither spaceships nor atmosphere craft can fight against a man in a suit, except by saturation bombing of the area he's in. Like burning down a house to get one fleet. So, yeah, the suits are pretty fucking awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
One guy in a suit can fuck things up very badly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're super deadly, but also very precise and surgical. Like, you can blow up a whole planet from orbit, but if you want to apply pressure and enforce a decision, you use suits. They're going to come in and be like, nice planet you got. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. You know?
Knock your drink off the counter.
You need to sign up for your MI insurance. Yes. Then they're also talking about a simulated time and a simulated simulation where he simulated firing a rocket during a rescue that probably would have gotten his teammates killed.
Yep.
And and he's very quickly and mostly quietly court-martialed himself, just like Hendricks.
Mm-hmm.
But he remembers that guy. He's like, I'm going to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to deal with this. And so he gets, 5 lashes. But Zim does step in beforehand and gives him a rubber mouth guard.
Yep.
Like, okay, just like, let's get through this. So.
Well, I like that he's like, I know how it goes.
Right. So. Johnny notes that, like, getting beaten is, like, way easier than watching someone get beaten.
Yeah.
Which, I guess. Mentally, maybe, but... Aside from, it hurting more than anything he's ever been through in his life. Plus the disrespect. That hurts the second. The beating hurts the most. Disrespect hurts the second most.
But then when they're done, it's over. No one cares about it.
Yeah, exactly. Done. After that, they're like, okay, great. We're moving on. Moving on. Yeah.
It's basically you got your severe spanking, now it's over.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is what we do instead of prison now in this society, pretty much.
Right. Yeah. From some of the insights they give, I can't remember if that chapter or the other one.
There's another point where they're like, the way we would punish people is just by publicly flogging them.
Yeah. Like if you had like unruly children, then they do it to your father too. Yeah. Because your father should be teaching you how to behave. Yeah. So you as a kid, you got to get punished to learn your lesson, but it's your dad's fault too for not raising you properly.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm like,
doing your duty.
That's weird, but not untrue. It is a parent's responsibility to raise their children to be better.
Yeah, but that's
a weird way to do it.
I love the idea though of psychopath kids getting their parents into trouble all the time.
But they don't have psychopath kids.
I just like seeing my dad get beat.
I think after a few times,
I wanted the Coco Ruse dad.
Ask if this kid maybe has some issues and just secret him away somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But hey, at least we don't have roving gangs of like robbing children, like
children with their liberties robbing everybody.
Yeah.
Fucking liberties of children. Yeah. Anyway.
Attacking you in parks at night.
That tells you, like, one of the things that he got wrong about his prediction of the future, I guess, is that, like, the entire country did not turn into, like, pre-Giuliani New York.
Into New York, yeah. Just New York and, like, Detroit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Chapter 8 is talking about a time when one of their guys from the unit deserts. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this before, but since it's voluntary service, deserters are like, well, all right. If you come back, we'll deal with it, but just don't come back. Like,
we're not going to go find you.
But this guy left and then also kidnapped a girl and then killed her.
Yeah.
So that's when the infantry swooped in to retrieve him from local authorities.
Well, because they didn't know.
Like,
and
we'll take care of this shit. Like,
I think the authorities had to let him know because it sounded like he went through trial. Yeah. And they convicted him, and then they looked him up and like, oh shit, he's a deserter. We got to let the army know.
Right.
I think they would do that now, anyways.
Yeah,
that's probably
you would
true.
just then do your time in the brig and then go to prison.
Right.
So,
but
I don't
not
know.
unless Jag got you off, though.
No, they can't. It's separate codes of justice.
But Jag, I'd just like to mention Jag.
The military one's harder. Like you can get brought up on charges and like go to court for adultery.
Yeah. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, especially don't kidnap and kill girls.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sci-fi
even if you're
now.
not a deserter, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that ever. It's not cool.
If you're about to, stop.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're listening to this and about to murder a girl, stop where you are.
Yeah.
It will
raise your hand and someone will pick you up.
You must
right.
it.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, they bring him back. They strip him of his uniform and hang him, and then they actually go into mourning for 30 days afterward because he shamed their unit.
Right. Well, and they mourned the girl, which I thought was nice. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we're sorry this dude who represented us did this, so we're going to remember her.
Yeah. I'm like, imagine a world where authority figures were punished when they broke the law. Like, wouldn't that be
know.
Cool?
That would be great.
Can you imagine, like, police units? Like, oh, you accidentally killed an unarmed teenager, so we're going into mourning after we kill you. We kill you back.
One could only dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's another flashback to a lecture with Professor Dubois.
Mm-hmm.
Counting, like, how the Republic of the XDX century eventually rotted away because, like we said, parents failed in their duties of hitting their kids.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the only reason why.
That was the only reason.
They had too many freedoms, and like a puppy that you let pee on the floor, they just kept peeing on the floor everywhere. So,
and so many of these social workers and psychologists were too influential.
Fucking psychologists telling kids they have rights, and that was the where they went wrong.
Go with their feels should be respected.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a minute. I'm a social worker. Are we still
Yeah. So, The note I had here, I think we
personally
covered.
don't agree with outright beating your children or your pets either. So
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Am I responsible for the downfall of America?
Yeah, pretty much. You personally.
Sorry, everybody.
They'll look back to you and your social work and your idea for masturbatoriums and be like, that's where it all went wrong.
Yep.
As soon as everyone had jack trucks, like
collecting of coins, everyone stopped caring about going to work.
Anything
well, I mean, what you can really gather from this is that there have been people since 1960 who've been bitching about the direction of the country.
Yes.
It being wrong because we don't beat our kids.
Yep.
Right.
Like back already in 1960, they're like, the libs telling us not to beat our kids.
I'm like, well, do you really need to beat your children?
It's in the Bible.
No, it's not.
Spare the rod.
That's not how you interpret
Spoil the
child. Yeah, haven't we talked about that before? That guy was like the guy writing it was a shitty dad, and like if you well no it was like specifically like if you look at what was it like if you look at how his kids turned out,
right?
They were all really shitty, and like
Solomon,
their subjects hated them. Yeah,
it's supposedly Solomon writing it. It's probably some other dude, but it's in that time period.
Yeah, but that was
his kids turned out crappily. So
yeah, that was the point that someone had made to me was that Solomon wrote all of these tips for raising your kids, like specifically about how like you should beat them to make them better, and then his kids turned out to be fucking raging assholes.
Yep, had some wars, little insurrection action in there. You know.
So maybe don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yes. So the note I have in here, I think we talked about a lot about how like this felt like a place where you could misinterpret what's going on, like with what he's saying.
Yeah,
like, you have to consider who's saying it.
Exactly.
Right.
In this case, but the kernel of truth to me seemed to be them talking about how juvenile delinquent is a contradiction and not something that exists.
Yeah.
Because if you're a juvenile, you're not an adult, and if you're delinquent, you've not done your duties, but you can't have duties if you're not an adult.
When you're a child.
Yeah. Right.
Which I would tend to agree with that, because children are children.
Yes.
They're still learning. They don't know how to be fully, a fully formed person yet.
Exactly.
So therefore, if they are acting up in this way, outsiders like parents, family, and even like society bear some responsibility in teaching them how to be, how to function properly,
and giving them ability to do that, like through
so if they can't do that
and stuff,
by a certain age and into their like early adulthood, like that's on us for fucking up, and not doing our job to them, our responsibilities to them. Which I'm like, I could agree with that.
Yeah,
totally
agree. And he's like, you can't just warn them forever. Like, you're doing wrong, and now you have the death penalty because you're an adult. So fuck you.
Yeah, like that's not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I get that part. Like, I don't think the solution is spanking, but I totally do agree with that line of thinking. Like, something has to be changed in there in order to give them an actual fair chance to change and grow instead of just doing the same shit. And like I said, warning, warning, warning. Oh, now you're on death row.
Right.
So.
Now it matters because you're 18.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because turning 18 is how you become an adult.
Even though it's not. I mean, it is legally, but as we've discovered, your brain isn't fully adult till you're 25.
Right.
Like,
my brain's not fully adult now.
I would argue with that too, but I mean,
what does that even mean?
It's your ability to make like proper choices and weigh all the consequences of your actions.
Yeah, I'm not an adult then.
Diminished, highly diminished when you're still like 20. It's more like you're 16 when you're 16.
What does it mean when you're almost 40?
I mean, your brain is physically there, Chris. Whether you're able to use it appropriately or not is the other question. But
just
that gets into other stuff.
Chat GPT.
That's what gets in. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what takes us into neurodivergences and different brain structures, different brain setups that some of us have. Yeah. Like, our abilities to do some of this shit is hampered by deficiencies elsewhere.
Right.
So.
And plus having too many freedoms.
I mean, that's probably what did it to me.
Yeah,
I wasn't beaten enough. That's probably what it was.
You know what? They would say I wasn't either, but that's because I learned. My mom would tell me about that.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, you weren't really, she's like, you'd get, the swat on your bottom, but you were, 2, and, diapers were thick as hell, so it was more just, get your attention.
A shot
the
across
only
the
time
bow.
I really remember having to, slap you, was, I had to slap your hand once. The one time you reached to touch the stove.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't really have to do anything with you because you, were shocked and then didn't want to do that again, so I didn't really have to. And I'm like, good? I don't know. But then I read some stuff recently that kind of plays into certain things about my biology and shit I learned as I got to be an adult. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
And brain differences. So.
Yeah. Freaking brains, man.
Yeah.
We know some more things now, I think, than we did in 1960.
We do. Sorry. We know a lot more now than we did in 1980.
Yeah.
The shit, I don't know. Someday I'll tell you about it all.
No, I'm sorry.
It's
it's all your freedoms. It's turning you all like autistic and gay. Sorry.
No, it's probably crap in the environment.
It's all these freedoms. That's why you want your kitty litter box in your school now. Because of all your freedoms.
That's the dumbest shit I ever heard.
I'm going to drive this joke into the ground as long as I can.
Oh my God.
I do think
letting kids be the way they think they are is the worst.
I do think there is very much a lack of awareness of what our rights and responsibilities are and what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we just have them from being born here.
Right.
But I've always thought, I don't think we should have national service that means, the military. I really think it would, especially when I was younger, it would have been a good idea to, widen up Job Corps a bit and make it more like America Peace Corps. Because it kind of is. And just have us all do, a year of that after we finish high school. Then you get sent, you get put in, a little unit, and you get to go, work on a project or do shit in a field you're interested in, but you live as, this little group on a base, and you just do a year of service to your country. Yeah. And then go to college or go to work or do whatever, and that's what you get. And that way, that's how you qualify for, loans and other shit. Even maybe some more programs, or we have more programs after that, because we've done national service, you know, to help people start businesses and do shit that's what they want to do, you know.
On Comedy Bang Bang, name checking another podcast here. A much more famous one, America's Podcast.
It's pretty close.
The podcast? I don't know what you call it. On there, Scott Aukerman talks about, he's talked a couple of times, or maybe it was on Freedom. He talks about it would be cool if we just had high school for adults. Once you turn 45 or something, they just
do high
send
school
everybody
again
back to some kind of a high school thing.
Yeah. I would do that.
Yeah.
Get a refresher on shit, learn some new skills.
And go hang out with some people your own age,
Yeah.
Just go do the social thing for a while.
Yeah.
Level set your commitment to socialism or socializing and being part of a society.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, you would probably have a better experience the second time through, right? Just because people are better, I guess.
You're not full of raging hormones anymore.
Yeah.
Some of us.
Yeah, speak for yourself. Jeez.
Trust me, gentlemen, I know none of us are full of raging teenage hormones anymore because we're not.
Again, speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. Well, but, either way, Johnny Rico sleeps very soundly after that guy is murdered, so.
Yes.
Well, not murdered, but, executed.
Executed.
Executed is the word for it.
Yeah.
They didn't, hunt him down and, secretly kill him in his sleep.
Revenge murder.
Revenge murder.
Very carefully planned revenge murder.
Right. We murdered him right back.
That's right.
So there's kind of, the small coda chapter where they're talking about Camp Spooky outside of Vancouver, where they go to practice, suit jumps up mountains and stuff. Because that's harder.
Again, just like tribes.
Yeah. And there's many casualties. Just like tribes.
Just like tribes. Yes.
And they go through practice drops and stuff. And here's where he's talking about the very military ideas, you got to know like the guy in your flank is tough. Like you don't want someone who's gonna like be a pussy halfway through. Like I'd rather have an empty flank than someone who's just gonna be like not dependable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then there's a little section where they have some shore leave, where Johnny's reminded that girls are pretty cool.
Yep.
It's like I haven't seen them for a couple of months, and now they look pretty good. And he and his buddies get crossways with some merchant marines in Seattle who don't really seem to like the military infantry. And maybe just a little bit jealous of their citizenship.
Yeah.
I guess was what we were supposed to get from that, but
yeah. And I think one of the other products of that scene is like typically in a situation like that in our society, right, where you have a bar fight with like military dudes who just randomly showed up somewhere.
Yeah.
The police are not going to be on their side.
Yeah.
Typically we're going to see like the military dudes from on the base as being like the instigators, troublemakers, right?
Right.
And they're going to be the ones that like the police are like, we don't want your trouble in our town. Like keep it. And in this particular case, like the fight goes down and like the merchant marines get their asses handed to them.
Right.
And then the police show up and they're basically like, so do you guys want to press charges against these guys? Like, wait, what?
Right.
Like they just got obliterated in a fight and now the police are coming up to them like, you want to press charges? Like, no, cause I guess in this society, it is also like a huge offense to assault someone in the military.
Yeah.
And it's, basically because they're treated as citizens at this point.
Right.
Like,
right.
Yep.
They do seem pretty.
You have a lot of rights now as a soldier in society.
Yeah. The other people seem to be very respectful of them. Like, kind of. I'm not really remembering this very well, but there was like a section where he's like, "Hey, welcome to Seattle. You want us to go visit some consorts or something? Like, our Seattle geishas will be pleased to see you over here. Like, come on, guys. Like, Fleet Week in New York or whatever." Like,
it's and talking about like society, I guess. And this isn't necessarily a point. Again, we can't say what his actual thoughts were on it, timeline. But like, this is absolutely a thing that's done purposefully, I guess. This sort of, people who have dangerous professions that we don't want to do, we tend to put them up on a pedestal,
right,
and treat them better, specifically because we don't want to do their job, right? Like, it's questionable whether this show of appreciation is something that's like, something that's calculated to sort of manipulate people into doing these jobs that, are like, dangerous, deadly,
Right.
Like, is it a calculated manipulation by this society, I guess, to get people to join the military, to get their citizenship, to get all these rights?
Right.
Or is it
be a hero?
Yeah.
Be a hero.
Like it's an odd thing to think about, I guess. It's similar to sort of in our society how we have that thank you for your service kind of mentality, or like, like a lot of people supporting, like, I don't know, people with their support of police and firefighters and that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
Like,
that gets a little more sticky, but yeah.
It does.
There's a lot of people who are like, I'll put this thin blue line flag on my car because I'm not going to be a cop. Like, I guess I respect that, but...
Right. So it's like, you have to give people the sort of prestige of being police or firefighters or soldiers or something because the job is so dangerous.
Right.
They have to feel more appreciated somehow. And this is, again, it's questionable whether it's like a calculated move by the society or something to get people to do it.
Yeah. And like teachers.
Yeah.
And nurses.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. Like,
you have to,
do it without
teachers. Apply the sort of, lip service, I guess, to make people feel better about the profession they went into because it's so thankless.
Yeah. No, but teachers are cool. Most of them.
Yeah. the ones that are taking it seriously. Yeah.
When Chris Ham gets back, let's thank him for his service.
Yeah. As
a teacher.
Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty thankless.
Yeah.
We'll find out about it.
I gotta imagine.
Yeah.
So anyway. After that, then they've graduated. And they've gone from, 2009 recruits to 189. Now they're soldiers.
Neato.
Hold on, he's gonna get his cans back on.
Oh. Cans.
Move it in. Headphones on.
There we go.
There he is. Hey, Chris Ham, thank you for your service. As a teacher.
Teacher, yes.
Thank you.
Teacher. Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So yes, you missed the part where they went to Seattle.
That's the fun part. Yeah.
But now they've graduated from boot camp, and they've gone from 2009 recruits to 189 actual soldiers.
Yep.
I kind of like Johnny being like,
they've been decimated.
Yes.
Yeah, but
quite literally.
I did remember we actually do have a domestic version of Peace Corps. It's called AmeriCorps.
Oh, yes.
So, there you go, folks.
That's
what we should all do when we turn 18. Join AmeriCorps.
Can I do it now? Can I just quit?
Go for it.
Actually, I think you can.
Go do it.
One of their volunteer programs or something like that, I think you can do it for a little bit. Cool. You can also do Peace Corps.
Yeah.
Regular Peace Corps. And when we get older, they have a specific program for older people that's 6-month-long commitments instead of 2 years.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little easier.
I worked with a lady who's like, I'm going to quit and go to the Peace Corps. She went to do a manager role over there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Neat.
all right.
Yeah.
Neat. So, I did like this last little note from Johnny being like, I probably left a lot of things out. The time we had to do firefighting and these drills that turned out to not be drills, and
right.
That was just boring though.
Say what now?
I specifically liked his comment about the weather. You could just flip through an almanac and it would probably be right.
Yeah.
and I specifically liked that comment because if you were writing a book, that's probably what you would do. So right. he basically was like, this is left as an exercise for the reader.
Yeah.
I'm not going to write about the weather because that shit's boring. You can do that if you want to.
Yeah.
I love that he called it out,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because an editor was like, you didn't say anything about the weather. Well, fuck you.
Right.
First of all.
It's not important.
That scene in Forrest Gump was kind of funny though, when it just rained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not in Camp Spooky, apparently.
Right.
You don't get that kind of rain in, the northern
Vancouver
Canadian plains or in the Canadian Rockies.
Yeah, so I think that was in the Canadian Rockies. So
at least on the one side of the Rockies.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that kind of rain.
The middle part. You do on the other side. That's why Vancouver's wet.
Right.
And has that nicer climate.
But there is the rain shadow on the other side.
Yeah.
Right. Quite right. So now we got to read the rest of this book, you guys.
Oh my
we
God.
do. I think it's going to be interesting.
I can only imagine.
All the action, probably.
Probably stuff's going to happen.
Yeah. All of the rest of the shit now is.
Yeah.
We've gotten through all of the sort of basic soldier stuff.
Right. Yep. Now the shit's going to hit the fan.
We know all about the world and the people and such.
Yep. Now things have to happen.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So we'll figure out when we can meet again and talk about that. But do you guys have anything else that's good?
School's almost out for us.
School is out for us.
This Friday for the kids is their last day, unless they have to do EOG makeups, which might be a sizable chunk. Cause,
that's crazy.
Well, normally we wouldn't do that. Like, we would have had it differently. We are a little late, but I think we started a little later than everybody else, too.
Yeah.
We still started in August, but I think most of the states started more in the middle, and we started a week later.
Yeah.
We had like a week left before August was over. But, so we found out Friday that they took the reading EOG on Wednesday, and the 6th graders, only out of 60, 5 of them passed.
Oh, jeez.
So, they're decimated also.
4 were projected to pass. So we got, Miss McGuire said we got 1 more, but she's been working with them so hard this year. We should have had more, but we don't have the data yet, so we don't know how many were like super close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the ones who are super close for reading and math are supposed to be invited to retake it.
Yeah.
And that'll happen the following week, which I'm not too happy about. But I'm scheduled to be there that Monday and Tuesday. We'll see what happens. But I need that time that week to get my car oil changed and have my NC State inspection done so I can get my plate renewed. So I can drive it to Indiana the following week.
Gotta do that. Or else they'll pull you over.
Yeah, they will. I mean, North Carolina wouldn't, but other states will.
Yeah.
Because they can look it up on the fly and be like, oh, he paid for his shit, he just doesn't have a sticker. Yeah. Like this year. Like, I never got my sticker last year, and I didn't have any money to get a new one. And then by the time I did, I'm like, I only got like 6 more months. What's the point? So.
Well.
Just been driving around on a fully current car, just no sticker that says it. But
yeah. But the thing that's good is that summer's coming up. Not that
it is. It's almost here. Like, I have to remind myself that, yes, I have to go 2 more days after this week. You know, because this is the last week for most of the students. And Friday's supposed to be, like, some fun shit, so we'll see.
Yeah.
I want to take the summer off.
Me too.
Well, I mean, I don't get paid during the summer, so there's...
I mean, I wouldn't, I'd
remember that part. Oh, I have some money that I have enough money for my basic responsibilities. I just don't have any extra.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to maybe find... I was interested in maybe seeing who does, like, the house sitting companies around here and just, like, do that during the summer. Pretty low. It doesn't matter if it pays a whole lot, just some income.
Something.
Yeah. Something.
Something's better than nothing.
For spending monies and gas money.
Absolutely.
So
you can watch their cable and drink their sodas.
That was my thought. It might be just check on their house. I have a few of those in the day, and then someone needs someone there for, like, overnight.
Delivery,
so on a little trip.
Yeah, that could, like, I mean, if that actually sounds really nice.
Yeah. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I might end up having to, like, go down to Charlotte to do it, because there's a lot of rich people there, but that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I've never really had a chance to explore Charlotte and be like a little vacation all the time. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
Could be cool.
Yeah. Let us know if you find a good one and we can party.
Yeah, we'll do.
Secretly.
Just clean up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know.
We're good at that.
Yeah, we are.
We are. We got 5 stars or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely did.
Perfect.
We cleaned the shit out of that house.
Yeah.
Sure did.
They would have us back and everything.
Like, it helps when we don't make a lot of mess to begin with, so.
Right.
That's the secret to cleaning your messes, is don't make them.
Now, it doesn't apply to my own space, but other people's spaces, yes.
It's easier when it's someone else's space.
Yeah.
Other Chris, what's good?
Oh man, so I just watched Shin Ultraman.
Ooh, is that one on Netflix?
It was in theaters. It was one of those Fathom events.
Oh, okay.
But like it's part of the new the new Heroes, if you're aware of that at all. Studio Kara and Hideaki Anno have been remaking some like classic sort of Japanese characters, starting with Shin Godzilla.
I knew about that.
I saw that.
Now.
That was fun and weird.
Was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's super weird, but very good.
And oh no, it wasn't. So it wasn't Shin Ultraman that I watched, but I watched Shin Ultraman a while ago. It was Shin Kamen Rider that I.
That's what I was gonna ask if that was part of it too.
Yes,
I've seen that.
So Shin Ultraman, I watched a while ago, and now Shin Kamen Rider is the one that just came out. That's the one that I watched, and that was pretty excellent. It wasn't as good as Shin Godzilla, but it was better, I think, than Shin Ultraman. Yeah. That's kind of where it shook out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you're familiar at all with the story of Kamen Rider, he's a hero who was sort of created out of dude. How do I even begin to explain Kamen Rider?
Yeah.
He's part grasshopper.
Uh-huh.
He's part grasshopper. He's got a suit that collects bioenergy for him to use and turn into a super powerful grasshopper man. He jumps really high. He does some martial arts fighting. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the tokusatsu sort of Power Rangers or anything like that. It's very similar sort of action choreography, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
But he's got a sweet motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It transforms and shit. It does all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah. And man, it's right off the bat a much bloodier movie than I expected. But in kind of a fun way, not in a surgical way, not in a gross way, just in
stylized.
kind of in more of a hilarious way, I guess.
All right.
Yeah. Like people's heads just exploding, people getting stomped through the chest, people whatever. It's glorious and it's fun.
Nice.
And then the guy who's actually playing Kamen Rider, he takes it all very seriously.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He's very shaky through the whole movie about killing people, not happy about it. But anyway, overall, good movie. I would say check it out.
Worth the watch.
Yeah, and worth a watch. Watch Shin Godzilla though, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And keep an eye on these new Japanese heroes, because I think we've got Shin Evangelion coming out.
Oh shit!
At some point. And then there's going to be a whole universe crossover. And I saw a trailer, no shit, where there is a Gottai form of Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and Eva Unit 1.
Wow.
All of them joining.
What could they possibly need to be fighting?
Weird.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
They're fighting the sun.
It's the most Japanese thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Sounds like it.
What is going on? Anyway.
Can they add Sheen Samurai Pizza Cats to it?
I don't know what else is coming. I really don't. But it
can I suggest that?
So Travis, what else is good?
There we go.
I was just gonna say, for the Kamen Rider, wasn't something I knew about until recently.
Yeah.
And actually, I was watching an Iron Mouse stream. She was doing a ranking of their theme songs for all the series.
Yeah. Okay.
And they got some banging theme songs.
They do. Oh man.
And I didn't realize there were so many series.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
Some of them, are pretty crazy. It's my friend Mike who's actually into all of that tokusatsu stuff. Yeah. So he's the one who would know all of the theme songs. He's the one who would.
Yeah. So what else is good for me? So Danielle and I watched a show on HBO, not Max. It's an HBO show.
Mm-hmm.
Called Love and Death.
Okay.
Which has the good Olsen, Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen.
Olsen.
And it's true crime story about a lady who lived in Wiley, Texas.
Okay.
Which is right up the street from me. It takes place, I want to say, late 70s, early 80s. Who had an affair and then murdered some guy, his wife.
Oh.
So it was interesting because, it's trying to be period piece, so it's like, late 70s Texas.
Yeah.
And felt pretty accurate, like the weird, like, Fox and Jacobs homes that we have all around here, like, they all kind of look the same, and, like,
right.
Seeing the Central Expressway before it was 75, and, like, where they would go to have their cheap flings or whatever, but it was interesting because, like, the first half of this limited series is just them leading up to them having an affair, and the way they kind of, like, project manage the whole thing. She breaks out, like, charts and, like, note cards to be like, okay, if we're gonna do this, the pros are, like, we get the intimacy in the relationship, but the cons are, like, our spouses might be damaged by it. We gotta make sure we agree we're not gonna get, like, romantically involved, and we're only gonna meet on these days, and we're only gonna... She, like, fucking packs a lunch the first time they get together, and...
Did they, like, SWAT this? Like draw it up on the whiteboard and...
They put up the grid. Yeah. So, this
is what happens when type A people have an affair.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because there's also a show out on Hulu at the same time about this same event that pits them very differently. Like, in this one, you kind of see the lady as like, this all got out of hand, and then, like, the guy's wife was, like, postpartum depression and, like, kind of maybe not all there, and, like, flipped out and tried to kill her with an axe.
Oh, geez.
And so then they focused on what she did after she had to kill her in self-defense, by hitting her, like, 41 times with the axe, because, that's self-defense.
So
that's the death part of Love and Death, but...
maybe not 47.
Yeah.
Right? I could see, like, a few being explained by adrenaline, right? But, like...
Right.
You gotta make sure they don't get up.
Well, she kept getting up, like in a horror movie. Just kept
getting up. Is that what happened?
In the show, at least.
Oh, okay.
But, you gotta, like we were saying before, you gotta remember who this testimony is coming from here. Like, they're really only going off of what they were talking about. But, it was, the parts I liked the most was just kind of, like, I don't know, it never ventured too far into being, like, ridiculous satire.
Yeah.
But, following all these church people through, like, their petty squabbles and, like, the very, like, matter-of-fact way she's like, I think we should have an affair.
Yeah.
Like, oh. All right. So that ended up being pretty good.
What you're telling me is, if a woman ever comes up to me and says, I think we should have an affair, it's going to end in murder. I should probably avoid it.
Don't trust them if they're like, I did the flow chart.
I should probably, even if we do SWAT it out, and it comes out to be more pros than cons.
Yes.
It's probably going to end in murder.
Probably so.
Probably. Like, almost 99%.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, yes.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't have affairs. Just get divorced and then have a relationship if you want. But don't do the affairs. They'll get you murdered.
Right.
So, yeah.
God.
Worth the watch. Elizabeth Olsen in particular was really good in it. So,
yeah.
Okay. The other thing
is she the is she the murdery lady?
Yes, she's the one who goes on trial for murder.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
And what it looked a lot like the McKinney Courthouse, where I've been to before. Not in, but driven around and parked by. So,
right.
Interesting.
It's pretty cool. The other thing I've been doing is I finally got around to playing Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I had pre-ordered when it was supposed to come out on the Wii U.
Oh.
And then it did come out, and I'm like, but it didn't come out till there was a Switch. And so out of anger and pique, I'm like, I'm not playing this.
Yeah.
fuck you guys. Like, I bought a whole Nintendo system for this, and you brought it out on a different system. But
yeah.
Yep.
But with Tears of the Kingdom coming out, I figured it was finally time to go back and play it. And I don't know if you know this, but this game's pretty good.
Yeah. I put like 200 hours into it.
Some people have said it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just a bit. Yeah.
It scratched a lot of the same itches that Genshin Impact did when I was playing that.
And
so it's like
a lot of these kind of games now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you don't have to have ADD to play it, but if you don't, it's a good way to simulate it.
Yeah.
You're like, I have to go get some ingredients. Oh shit, there's a shrine up there, and like, oh god, there's enemies, and my weapon broke, so I go, fuck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Grand Theft Auto was like that for me too. Like,
all these random missions and stuff.
I'm like, I'm gonna go do. Oh no, I'm just gonna like go to the top of this building and start randomly firing rockets at things.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like
I was just going for that one ingredient for cooking, and then this Lionel showed up and fucking shot me with lightning. So I have to deal with that now. But
and you know, you end up finding like a sweet place to like ski or sled down a hill or something, and you're like, I'm just going to do this for an hour.
You've got to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool, and I really, really liked the way that they did the story in this, as opposed to other like Legend of Zelda games, where it's like you've already fucked up, and like the world is already devastated, so you don't have to do the standard like we better hurry and get to this place
exactly
and get the hook shot so you can go over here.
Yeah, there's no ticking clock element in this one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure I missed a lot of it still, even though I played it all the way through. But I'm like definitely gonna have a cool down time before I go play Tears of the Kingdom, because like it seems like they amped that up to 100.
I did. Like I said, I put like 200 hours into the game. I did like most of it, I think, and I did not actually do the final castle. So we are opposites, I guess, in that regard.
Yep.
The
temptation was there to go back and do the other stuff. I'm like, I didn't really do the snowy area because I was bad about cooking things to deal with snow.
Well, no, you get warm clothes and then you're fine.
Yeah, but that place is so cold even with my warm clothes.
No,
I need the set.
You get warmer clothes.
I need to get the set.
You get warmer clothes.
But like the other thing to mention is like the character design in here, like you don't have to be bisexual to play this game, but if you want to feel what it's like I know we're talking about bird guys and fish ladies, but like I was ready to risk it all for basically every character. Especially the Gerudo people, like I might have learned something about myself today.
You would cross-dress to go into a city full of women in the desert?
If it was those ladies, yes.
Yes.
That will crush me between like their pinky finger and thumb.
Snoo.
It'd be fine.
Yeah.
They're all like twice as tall as Link in this game.
That's fine. They can pick me up and carry me around.
Abs that would cut diamonds, like.
Yep.
It's Breath of the Wild, pretty good.
I just think of Brody from Mallrats like popping out wearing the underwear. He's like, I'd make a sexy chick. Every time there's like cross dressing in a game or something, like that quote pops into my head.
So yes, take it from me. If you haven't played Breath of the Wild, go play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be fun. You'll get distracted by the game and the characters. Yeah. I'm probably the first person on record to say it.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway. Okay, that was our session for today. This week is the easy to remember homework assignment of now just read the rest of the book. This episode's already running a bit long though, so a brief on second thoughts section for you. So when we were going on about thanking the troops or saying thank you to people who work those thankless jobs, I just want to be clear that we aren't trying to suggest that those jobs aren't difficult, necessary, nor under-rewarded. We think that all of you firefighters, teachers, nurses, service industry, and hospitality workers are great, and you probably should have a great big raise too. And if you're a cop, well, Today's episode could have just been looked up in an almanac and filled in later by Chris Ham, other Chris Jacobson. It was edited by me, Travis Rowe, and was sponsored by no one in particular. Until next time, keep fucking reading. If you're stepping away for a second,
I am stepping away for a bit.
I'm just going to go through the last couple of sections and we'll double back for.
Okay.
Yeah. But you go ahead.
Thanks.
People can be like, how come Chris Ham always disappears halfway through? Just doesn't say nothing.
Yeah, it's just gone.
It's just gone.